once we hit the big time, I can afford one of those nice fancy laptops.
That's going to happen during this episode. Hi, everybody. It is the Dead
Hello.
Air Horror Review Show. I am your buddy, Chris, and that is your buddy, TJ, aka El Topo,
Now,
aka Stinky
listener, don't let
Fingers.
TJ fool you. This is not his usual candor. We were just chatting it up, and
Yeah, we were talking about
he
politics. So I'd like to start off today's episode with a bit of an anecdote. So last week, as we talked about briefly before the pod started rolling, I did a small nerd convention in Carroll County, Maryland,
now
and
was it actually called the Nerd Convention?
it was called Nerdtopia, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, um, I got in a conversation with some Zoomers about horror movies because I have a lot of horror movie artwork that I
Mhm.
sell. Like I have a whole book that's just prints from horror movies and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, we love horror movies." It was like there was like three friends and they were all together. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." They're like, "We just been watching a bunch of horror movies lately." Like, okay, what's the last thing you watched that interested? Like, oh, we watched the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I was like,
Oh,
oh, how was that?
the Zoomers love it, right?
How was that? They go, it was amazing. I
Oh,
go, I go, amazing. I was like, were you a fan of the games? And they're like, oh yeah. And they go, like, they were telling me. Then they started, like, you could tell, like, and full respect, I'm not making fun of these kids. I actually love their passion. But the one kid just started going off, and he started telling me about all the fucking lore. There's so much lore in these
yeah.
fucking games, and he's like, well, they couldn't really fit all this in the movie, but they did a good job, and like they were like, you got to watch it. It was great. So I listened to those kids, and we reviewed Five Nights at Freddy's. We watched Five Nights at Freddy's this week, and I again, full respect to these youngsters, these little zoomies, but I would beg to differ that this movie was amazing.
In TJ's terminology, do you want to just go ahead and bury the lead here?
Sure, yeah.
Go
I
for it.
I I felt like this movie. I now I'm gonna. This might surprise you. I didn't hate this movie.
No, neither did I.
This is not a
Surprisingly.
hate. I didn't hate this movie, but I did think that it's a overlong. It's too long,
Yeah.
and the plot is way too complicated for being so, like the plot is bad and complicated, which is a weird thing to do.
I would
Where
go as far as nonsensical.
yes, thank you. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. This movie is like very contrived, and like really it should be very, very just simple. Like the movie, it's funny, right? Because the movie to me, I think one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is the intro. I thought the little intro was a great like
Mhm.
cold open. It's a great like short film, almost like a
Yeah,
great like proof of concept. Because I don't know if you've ever played any of the games, Chris. I've
I
never
haven't.
played any. I'm
Have you?
very from no, 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 no.
No.
It's funny. I checked my Steam account and I have the first one, but I've never installed it because I think it probably came in like a bundle or something. And
Mhm.
I think when it came out, it was like very cheap. I think that was one of the reasons why it got so popular. I think it wasn't like a full priced game. Um, but I'm going to show my age and say that this game is based basically off of the old Night. What the hell was the name of that game? Uh, Night
You have all
Stalker,
the
Night
game
Trap,
mods.
Night Trap. There's
Okay.
an old, very old Sega CD, kids. Back in the day, there was this video game company called Sega, and they released this fucking add-on to the Sega Genesis called Sega CD. Anyway, there was this game called Night Trap, and Night Trap was this really. The best way I can describe it is it was like a cheesy B movie, and you played like this like omnipotent presence that would switch between screens, and you had to, and again it's a full motion video, so it's just a movie playing, but like
Mhm.
you had to switch between screens, and then if you caught the bad guys you could like zap them in the screen. And the Five Nights at Freddy's thing is the same thing. In those games you are a security guard at an old, like, basically what's a Chuck E. Cheese or a Showtime Pizza, which I come to find out is the original. Chuck E. Cheese is just an imitation of Showtime Pizza and the Rocket Fire Explosion or whatever the fuck it was called. Um, but anyway, you are a security guard switching to video cameras, and then there's like jump scares, and that's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the beginning of the movie I thought was pretty cool because it like starts out almost like a fucking Saw movie. Like it's like a security guard and he's looking at all the cameras, and then there's like this like fucking the bear head with like the fucking like Iron Maiden in it, and like then he gets killed at the end, and it's like very quick and very brief. And I was like, oh, just roll the credits. That was great. That was cool. Like I like that. That was
Yeah, that's a perfect comparison. It did feel very Saw-like,
I
and
mean,
maybe
like
it's because it's very fresh in our minds too, because we just reviewed it.
That was definitely Saw-like though. I
Yeah.
mean, he's in the chair, the way it's shot, the way they cut back and forth from like his potential escape and the trap, so to speak. It was very, very Saw-like. But then go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say from there it kind of goes downhill. I'm gonna give you my first. I'm not gonna go beat by beat, but like I'm gonna give you my first real problem with the plot.
Can I just stop you for a second?
Please,
can we just give a quick synopsis, a synopsis of the movie, and just give it for people who aren't familiar, because I have had no knowledge of what this movie was about because I had never played the games. I've heard about it online. But really nothing more than what I've seen visually, like killer animatronic animals.
Now that's really all there is to know.
It's but and I get it. There is an innate fear in that, because growing up, when you would see that at like Chuck E. Cheese or Disney World, it was like there's something off about it. There's something off about having an animal or any kind of thing that is human-like.
And they have like
and its characteristics
eyes.
That the potential for it to come to life and harm you is obviously doesn't exist, but in a child's mind it's always possible. So I like how they played off of that kind of fear. But anyway, so this movie, it's basically a play on that, but the main character, Josh Hutcherson's character, I forgot his actor.
That guy is terrible.
Really? Actor, I liked him.
I thought he was so bad in this movie.
I thought he did great.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I felt like, I don't know. He does a lot of like acting with his face. And he felt like a video game character because he's like emoting too hard all the time. Like, I don't know. I had a real problem with his acting in this movie.
But he like is down and out. He needs a job. He's taking care of his sister on his own.
Yeah.
And he needs to get a job. Now,
pause real quick.
Hard pause.
Sorry. My first problem with the movie is the initial setup as to why he needs to get a job is the most fucking ridiculous thing. So like he is a mall security guard at the beginning of the movie, and he thinks he sees a child abduction. So like without asking or like being like stop or what are you doing, he literally just tackles a guy that's walking next to a child and then beats the shit out of him. And it's just like,
but there's some foreshadowing there because it makes sense as the movie goes along.
I suppose you're right. Yeah, but like it's like my problem with like Batman versus Superman, where like the fight could be completely alleviated if like somebody just talked for 5 seconds. Like, don't you think he'd be like, hey, is that your kid? Yeah. Oh, cool. Sorry. Like it seemed kind of like
it seems like a terrible job for someone that had experienced that kind of childhood trauma.
Sure, he's got like PTSD about it, but like also if he's got that level of PTSD, parents with their kids at the mall, he would have beaten up 6,000 parents in the mall. Like I don't know. I thought it was a terrible. You have to like set it up. You have to set it up a little bit, like literally just have him get fired at the mall. I don't know, whatever.
You don't need many reasons to get fired at a mall.
No, like I can vouch for that.
Steal a Cinnabon.
Fired at them all, so
you could pull out your taser on the wrong person.
Yeah.
So he has to find. Like TJ said, he got fired from his job, security job. He's got to find another job real quick to keep custody of his sister because his aunt is trying to take custody of his sister so she can get the the payments for like the
she wants that sweet
government
state child payments.
yeah.
Also, real quick, not
Mhm.
that this really has a ton to do with the plot, but this is a period piece. This takes place in the 90s. It's some they never really say, but the temp agency, the fact that everybody has a phone, they talk about how this place used to be in the 80s and they're all like young enough. So this is a time capsule movie. It's like 1990 X or something. You know what I
I
mean? Because
didn't even really pick up on that.
nobody has a cell phone.
That makes
Like I
sense.
said, like everybody's got I because as soon as he walked into that temp agency with Matthew Lillard, I was like, is that a thing anymore? And I was like, oh, it's not.
There are still temp
Are
agencies.
there temp
Oh yeah,
agencies?
absolutely. But they're all online mostly. Like you're not.
That's what I was thinking. Like, yeah. So, but that wouldn't work if like Matthew Lillard was like the webmaster of like Indeed or something.
So
Also, shout out to Matthew Lillard. Always fun to see. He has a
I
lot of
love
fun in
Matthew
this.
Lillard. I always found
He's
him
very
great
good
in
in
the
this
Scream
movie.
movies. He
SLC
plays
Punk, very fun, good movie.
he plays a very important role in this movie, but he's not in the movie very much.
He's not
Um,
really in the movie that much, yeah.
yeah, but so he gives. This is where it starts to spin a little bit for me because he gives Mike the job as a security guard at Freddy Faz. What is it called? Fazbender's?
Fazbear, yeah,
Fazbear's.
Freddy Michael Fassbender's pizza.
That's I got that stuck in my head.
Fazbear, I think it's
Fazbear's.
yeah.
An old abandoned Chuck E. Cheese type hangout spot for kids that's been abandoned for a decade or more.
Yeah, something like that. Again,
Why?
they don't ever tell you exactly what year it is, but they just like
Yeah.
there's a drop line about, well, this place used to be big in the 80s and
Yeah.
it's not anymore.
So I should have been taking notes because this was the first moment where I was like, why doesn't Mike question the fact that this guy wants him to work as this overnight security guard at an abandoned store?
Right. Yeah.
And
Also,
maybe,
I love the fact that Matthew Lillard, like, again, he's doing like the spider in the web kind of thing. He's trying to make
yeah,
Mike the victim. So like, just lie and tell him the pay is great. Like, why is he like everything
yeah,
about this job sucks, but like I'm gonna take it anyway? Like, just I mean,
right,
like ultimately he wants him to kill Mike, so just be like, oh yeah, the pay is fucking awesome. Like,
right. I'll
like,
pay you at the end of the week. You're only gonna be working there for 5 days anyway before I murder you.
right.
Spoiler alert. I'll
Yeah.
I'll put that in
Yeah,
chapter.
I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, well, that's a weird way to get your victim in there. I don't know.
So long story short, he comes across another security guard, female security guard. She was
She's a cop. She's not
she's
a
a
security
cop.
guard.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
She's a cop.
she's a cop. A
She
glorified security guard, if you ask me. But we won't get
yeah.
my radical left-wing political beliefs on the show.
Played by Elizabeth Lale.
not
She
not familiar with her. I didn't.
I watched. So did you ever watch You? YOU?
No.
I liked the first season. I didn't watch any other
About
season.
like a
She was
serial killer or something, right?
yep.
Yeah,
She was really good. Anyway,
she's pretty good in this.
yeah.
I thought she was pretty good.
So he befriends her. And then he starts to like his life really starts to he really starts to lose control because he's having all these dreams about his childhood trauma, losing his little brother,
Yeah,
because his
and
little brother was kidnapped at a picnic, a family picnic,
yes,
and he tried to
this
chase after him and couldn't. They never found him. They
they
never
never
found the
found
little
him.
brother.
Also, we need to point out that he has the same dream, and by extension, we as the audience see the same dream like
Over and
70
over
fucking
and
times to
over.
the point where this is also like he is reading a book, some fucking book that says that basically you can turn into like the dream master and like manipulate your dream to get information out of it, and it's like, what? And
Which was
it's like a key plot point later on in the
yeah.
movie. It's like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? Like,
So
okay.
I would say for me personally, and I'm not going to give away, like we can give away spoilers. I don't care, but we can do that later in the show. Um, they go toe to toe, Mike and I forgot the cop's name. They go and fight the animatronic, serial
Well,
killer.
at first the cop like shows Mike the animatronics and they're like friendly, which is weird because
Yeah,
she's like, "Oh, this is fine," and then Mike brings his little sister to the animatronics, and then they become buddies,
because
and
they're
then
trying to
like
lure her into their little club. Now, this is where it gets really weird. Um, we're led to believe that there was like what a handful of children that were kidnapped by this
yeah.
serial killer, the same killer that kidnapped Mike's younger brother.
Well, you don't know that at first.
At first,
That's
you
a
don't know it at
later
first.
reveal, yeah. But
Yeah,
yes,
but we're led to believe, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, that these children, not their souls, but their actual
the
bodies are trapped.
corpses.
Corpses are
Yes,
trapped in these.
that's correct. Yes,
Okay,
that is correct. And that
so
also is
they're living or they're dead.
they're dead.
They're dead.
Yeah, they're decomposing corpses are stuffed into these animatronic bodies.
So what's control? It's the serial killer that's controlling them.
It's magic that's controlling them. I
Okay,
get
that's
like you mean like what's actually powering the
yes.
animatronics voodoo, you know what I mean? Like
Okay,
it doesn't make any sense. No,
all right.
it's not like they're not like zombie mech suits like where they're like kids are in there. It doesn't really make a
Well, what
whole
was
lot of
really
sense.
weird, did you notice sometimes they would walk around with like robots, other times they would walk around like a human?
They yeah
And pick a lane. Pick a
they
lane.
they fucked up a lot in these, and also like I don't know, like the choice of like they're kind of like half CGI, half not CGI.
Yeah.
I wish they just built the fucking puppets. Like I wish they just looked like Chuck E. Cheese's. Like I didn't really care for like I mean, truth be told, like I don't really like the designs like in the video game. Like the first of all, we should point out that the video game was a huge hit because it was like very cheaply made. It was made by one guy, and then
Okay.
it became this huge success. So the graphics are kind of primitive and cheesy and like kind of like roundish polygon kind of look. So instead, to me, like I don't know, maybe I'm not the right person to ask, but to me, like I feel like when you adapt something like that into like real space, I think you should have made it look like more real. I don't know. It seemed like
Yeah.
they really wanted to make it look like the video game, and I'm kind of two minds. I guess that might be the right way to go for fans because I'm not a fan, so maybe like they're happy with that. But also, for some reason, this is one of those fandoms where like a lot of people want to the animatronics, which is
What
troublesome because they have the bodies of dead children in them. It's very weird. Oh yeah, don't
is
rule 30 foot Google and
nope.
Freddy. Yeah, it's troubling to say the least.
Listener, do not do that.
Or well, if you do, you better get like a Tor browser or something.
Yeah, you'll be flagged. Somebody
Yeah.
showed up at your front door immediately.
But anyway, so what happens is they at first they befriend the animatronics, then you find out that the animatronics want Mike's sister to become one of them because she's got like powers or something. I don't know. I can't remember. There was some outstanding reason why. And then in the process, like the animatronics say they can bring back his brother for somehow, and then he's like, "Yes, I'll give up my sister," but then immediately goes, "No," and it's like, wait, what? Like, I don't like. I
Yeah.
call me crazy, but like, I know I'm asking a lot for a stupid movie for babies, but like, I think the movie's kind of more interesting if he like really does give up everything so he can get his brother back and like sees that through and then realizes that he completely fucked up instead of saying it and then going back on it immediately. Like to me it was kind of took the teeth out of that decision.
Yeah.
But like again, I want kind of more of it. Like that's asking a lot of this movie because again, I this is one of those movies where I have to remind myself like I am not the key demographic for this film.
And
Like
that's what I kept telling I literally said out loud, this is not supposed to be for me. But
no.
for what it's worth, I enjoyed it for the most part up until the last 20 minutes where the whole movie
Oh my god. Yeah.
completely unraveled. It
And
just
I don't know if you did this, but like I definitely there's plenty of movies where like I hit where it feels like the movie should be wrapping up and I pause it to see how
yeah.
much longer it's got to go.
Oh,
And
I
I
did
was
that.
like, oh my God. I was like 20, it was literally like 26 minutes. I was like, you gotta be
Yeah.
fucking kidding
Yeah.
me.
All right. So do you want to
Because
talk about the good?
this movie is I want to say this movie is close to 2 hours long, if not over 2 hours long.
Is it
Um,
that long? Let's
yeah, I'll look it up.
109 minutes. So yeah,
Yeah,
very close.
a
All right,
hundred.
let's talk about the good. Let's.
I enjoyed. There's a scene where the Freddy Fazbear's pizza gets broken into, and because they're trying to get Mike fired, they're by destroying the place that's already destroyed. Interesting strategy. Um, but the kills, like when they kill all the burglars, I actually thought that scene was a lot of fun. I
Yeah,
enjoyed that a lot, and I liked I don't know. Those scenes were like actually shot really well. Like I'll give this movie credit for, and again, I know it's a movie for babies. Like the horror parts, they did shoot them like a horror movie. Like
yeah.
they don't really pull any punches. Like I thought, like obviously it's not like super gory or whatever, but like oh, that was another thing that those kids, those Zoomers said that I thought was hilarious. They're like, well, it's not R rated, and they couldn't get away with a lot. I'm like, the movie is about a game for babies. Like, how is it? Why would it be R rated anyway?
Yeah.
Probably go back to that stuff that they like so much.
Oh,
But
nope.
um,
I'm bleeping every time you say that because I have no
but
idea what it is.
oh, I'm gonna send you some stuff.
I'm actually
But
too lazy to bleep.
yeah, no, me too. But yeah, I like that part a lot. I like Matthew Lillard. I like the reveal like that they get with him, and I liked, you know, his like the end of the movie is very tedious. When he shows up, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The motivation of the other cop is revealed and is very confusing to
So
me, and like
confusing.
what she puts up with and what she's like, oh, this is fine, is insane to me. Like,
And when she revealed the spoiler, which I guess we really don't have to tell,
yeah,
it was like she said, "I'm sorry, I meant to tell you, but in my own way." You
right,
didn't
what the
even try
fuck.
to tell him at all. You
Also,
could,
what the fuck does that even mean? Like,
yeah.
oh, I'm complicit in all these fucking child murders. Like, oh,
I
oops.
tried to warn you in my own way by
Didn't
not saying anything at all.
we all have parents that have killed, you know, 6, 7 children. I mean, it's just happened, you know.
um,
Um. Anyway, well,
okay,
how
so
about
the
you?
cinematography looked good. Like
It
it
did look
looked
good.
good. It sounded good.
Oh, I got one thing I can't believe I forgot to say.
But
They play the song "Talking in Your Sleep" by the
oh
New
yeah,
Romantics. I
yeah,
fucking love that song.
it
I
is a good
really
song.
love that song.
Yeah.
And I was excited that when they played it, I was like, because I also was a little bummed out because I want to say, and I could be wrong, I want to say I know Rocket Fire Explosion did their own music. I think Chuck E. Cheese did their own music. I would like them to write a goofy
Oh,
song
that would be
for
amazing.
them. But I mean, if they're gonna pick a song, they picked a banger. Like I love
Yeah.
that song.
All
Sorry, continue, Chris.
right,
You
now with the bad.
cinematography.
Now with the bad.
Uh,
Besides the
I,
storyline.
the storyline is the worst part.
Yeah.
Again, because you took a very simple premise and you should have made it at 90 minutes long.
Yeah.
I mean that the pacing is bad to me. I don't care for the acting, most like Mike's acting specifically. I just
Mhm.
found him troublesome. Um, you know, I don't really care for the designs. Again, that's more of a personal preference thing. I just wanted a more streamlined experience. That's kind of how I felt about it. I don't know. How about you? I feel like the plot is the biggest problem with the
The
movie
plot is the problem. I
because
mean,
it's just a tangled mess.
the first hour I was like, "Oh, this is like the story here is darker than what it appears." Like
Oh
this guy's
yeah,
dealing with a lot of like trauma, like serious stuff. And this is a heavy movie at first for like a 13-year-old kid.
sure, sure.
But then it just gets dumb. And like the certain things can't save a bad story. Like, you know, you know, like these characters behind you as
Yeah,
funny, goofy as they are, like it's
they're also like not really in it that much
yeah.
for all that you really expect them. They're not really in it that much. Also, there's one scene where uh the one kid is the one of the dead kids, and he shows up to Mike in a dream as the in his little boy self. He like gets to Mike's house, and you're like, how did he do that? And then you find out that like the fucking animatronic bear took like an Uber to get to his house. It's like what the fuck? Like I don't know.
uh
Like that's so stupid. Like lean into that more. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. It's funny to me.
Yeah.
I don't
I felt
know.
the same way. It's
Score
like
time.
if you're gonna be silly, like go all in. Like you don't have to just like dip your toes
Yeah,
in.
this movie
This
is
is
like
a
kind of,
silly premise. It's a silly
but the
idea.
movie
Like,
itself is kind of like dour and serious. It's kind of
yeah,
weird. Like it's
yeah.
weird the tone that they chose to go for in this movie.
I thought it was gonna be a lot more lighthearted than it was.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they well, since I really have no idea of the background of the story and the lore, like I guess this is like, are
Yeah,
they staying
I
accurate to the story?
apparently, yeah. For
Mm.
at least I know about the kids and the dead kids in the suits. That is accurate to the lore. I don't know the rest of it to be
All right.
perfectly honest.
All right, we got a minute, so let's do scores.
Okay.
You
Christopher.
um so I was gonna say a 6.5 up until the last 20-30 minutes, and then it slid down to about a 4.2.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually going to echo your statements. That's right where it is for me too.
Yeah.
Like you make this, you cut 20 minutes out of this movie, you're in like maybe 6, 7 territory. Because
Yeah.
again, it
It was
kind of
fun.
works. There's parts of it that are kind of fun, but like, man, does it like it just drags and drags at parts, and all the dream stuff just it goes on and on and
Yeah.
on. And I think the worst part about it is it's repetitive, and you see
Takes
the
the fun out of
same
it.
you see the same shit over and over, and it's like we've already seen this. You don't need to show me this again. But
All
anyway,
right.
I think that's the show. We got less than a minute, so
What do we watch next week? Do we know?
I don't know. We'll think of something.
Okay.
We will let you all know too. And Chris, enjoy all the stuff I'm going to
Oh.
send you.
Bleep. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.